Daf Kuf Chav Zayin Amud Beis, the second line from the top. One of the items that Rav Yechon mentioned that Adam Eichel Perasem Boil Mazeva Karen Kayem Saloilam Abba was Danas Chaver B'Chav Schos. So the Gemara now is going to give a related Maisa. Ton Rabbanon Hadan Chaver L'Kav Schos. If a person judges somebody else favorably, Dan in Oisel Schos, they will also judge him favorably. There was a Maisa with a certain person. Shiyaret Migol Elyon went down from Migol Elyon, the upper Golil, Viniska Eitzabalabais Echad Badarim Shalashon, and he was hired by somebody, a Balabais, in the south for 3 years. Erev Yom Kippur, so when he concluded his term of employment, it was Erev Yom Kippur. Omerloi, the worker said, give me my wages so I'll be able to support my family. He said, I don't have any money to give you. So the worker said, well, if you don't have money, then give me fruit, give me pears. He says, I don't have. So he said, well, then give me land. He said he doesn't have. Tainli behema, give me behemoths. He said he doesn't have. Tainli karmic sauces. So he said, then give me pillows and cushions. He said, Ainli. Hishil kelev la'achirav. So he went back empty-handed. So he took his belongings, he put it in a sack over his shoulders, and then he went home. He went home being sad and downtrodden. After the Yontiv, not the Balabais, the Balabais took the wages in his hand, and with it were 3 donkeys laden with all kinds of goods. One of food, one of drink, and one of delicacies. And he went to the employee's house, and he went to his house, and he went to him and to pay him. So then they had a suda together, and they had a suda sreim together, and he paid him. Then he asked him, when you asked me for your wages, and I said, I don't have any money, what did you suspect me of? What were you choshen me of? He answered, I thought maybe you had a good business opportunity. There was some merchandise that was at a very good price, and you used the money to buy that merchandise. Now, as unfortunate to speak out, if the wages were due, he had no right to take the money and to buy merchandise, to invest. He had no right to invest in a business opportunity if the wages were already due. Meaning that prior to the time that the wages were due, you invested all your money, you had such a good deal, so you invested all your money so that by the time that the wages were due, you had no money. Then he asked him, when you asked and said, well, if you don't have money, at least give me behemoths. And I said to you, I don't have any behemoths, but what did you suspect me of? I thought maybe at that time you leased it to other people. So at the time when the wages were due, it was not yet in your hands. And when you said, give me land, and I said, I don't have any land, what did you suspect me of? I thought maybe it was leased to other people. Maybe this lotion of muchraches is that it's leased, that the owner of the land has somebody working the land, and there's a fixed payment for a peiros or tfua that he gets from the land. It wasn't in his hands, he wasn't under his reshus, so he couldn't have used it and paid him. When I said I don't have any pears, what were you choshen me with? I thought maybe Well, he obviously had payers because he had what to eat, and he had there was a harvest from the field which he saw, but he thought that maybe it wasn't yet meiser. And the halach is that one is not allowed to give to an amoritz things which aren't mu'usar. And as the shiltus relates this Maisa, the employee, the worker over here, was Rabbi Kiva before he became a Talmud Chacham. Before he became a Talmud Chacham, that was Rabbi Kiva, and he was an Amoritz at that time. So it was also to give pairs which Anim was Soros to an Amoritz. He couldn't have given to him. The employer was Rabbi Lezer ben Hurkinas. That's what the Shilta says. And when I said that I don't have any pillows or cushions, what were you chayshir me with? Amati shema hikdish kol chasav l'shamayim. Maybe you were makdish it l'shamayim, and therefore you can't use it. You can't get on, you can't pay me with it. Omar le. So what he told him, he said to me, as havoida. He said, it's like a shvua kachi. He said, I promise you that that's exactly what happened. I was makdish on the chasim b'shul Hurkas b'noi shaloi asik b'Torah, because of Hurkas' son that was not learning Torah, was not asik b'Torah, and he was makdish it, and therefore he couldn't get an off from it. Then when I came to my chaverim in the Dorim, he literally called the Dorim, the Ramatra my neder. And you, Kashem Shadantani l'schuz, Amokam, Yadeno Ischol l'schuz. The Rebbeinu Shalom should be done you for schuz as well. It should be done you for schuz as well. So possibly this is not exactly this Maisa, possibly not exactly the same as the Memra, because when we say Kol Hadan is Chavera l'kav schuz, Hadan Chavera l'kav Danan Oisel l'kav schuz, they judge him l'kav schuz. Most Meforshim learn that to mean that other people, done in oisoi, not done in oiso. So the memory is if somebody is done others l'schus, other people would done l'schus. And this Maisa, though, what he said was the Rebbeinu Shalom should done you l'kav schus. Ton Rabban and Maisa b'chosid echad. There was a Maisa with a chosid echad. So Rashi says that's either Rav Yehuda ben Eloi or Yehuda ben Bova. That's normally when we say chosid echad, that's what it's referring to. There was a Maisa shepot riva achas bas Yisrael. He was paida pigeon shvuyim a bas Yisrael, a young bas Yisrael that was in captivity. He was paida. So he was paida even achas bas Yisrael ulamala and hishkivat achas maragalois. And when they came to the inn that in the evening, he put her in to rest by his feet. So, as we'll see from the Gemara Vayter as well, and this was prior to the time that they were geyser the Isser of Yichud. So he put her by his feet. L'machar yarav v'tavel v'shanol talmidav. And the next day he was yarav v'tavel. He was tavel before he was able to teach Torah to Yisrael. There was a Takonas Ezra at that time that a Balakari is also b'Torah, so therefore he had to be tavel. So apparently it would seem that he was a Balakari. So then he taught Lotim. Amar b'shashish gefana taras maragaloises. So he asked the Talmidim. He said to them, by the time when I rested her by my feet, by Merchashadatuni, what did you suspect me of? Amarnu, they answered, Shema yesh bano Talmud sheina bodok l'Rabbi, that perhaps there was a Talmud that wasn't examined by Rabbi, that he didn't fully trust him, that he wouldn't try to have relations with this young girl, and therefore he wanted to protect her. When I went to be Toivel, so Bukhari was a Balakari. What did you suspect me of? Did you suspect me, he asked, that he had relations with this girl? Amarno, they answered, they said perhaps because of the journey and the weakness that resulted from the traveling and the long journey, that he became a Balakari, and that's why he had to be Toivel. Amar Lahem, he said, I promise you, that's exactly what happened. You should also be judged favorably by the Rebbeinu Shalom. Tanu Rabbanon, Pamachas Hutzrach, Tavrach L'Talmid Chametz L'Matzanusa Achas. One time, the Chachamim had to appeal to a Matzanusa Achas, to a woman, a Gentile woman of influence and power. She called Gedolei Roimei Metzuna Islam. She was frequented by the Gedolei Roimei, so she had a lot of influence, and therefore they had a Shas HaTzorech for the Tzorchei Tzibor, so they wanted to appeal to her. Amru mi Elach. They asked who should go to represent us. Amru lahem Rav Yeshua ani Elach. Rav Yeshua said, I'll go. Halach Rav Yeshua v'Talmidav. So Rav Yeshua went with his Talmidim, came and she gila Pesach Besa. When he went to the door of her house, he removed tefillin 4 amos away. And he went in and closed the door before them. And afterwards, he was toivel, and then he taught the Talmidim. So the circumstance here would lead one to suspect that he removed the tefillin because he was going to be boiled or have relations, and therefore he had to remove the tefillin. And afterwards he was toivel, which would further strengthen that suspicion that he was in fact boiled her. So he said, when he removed the tefillin, what did you suspect me of? That we thought that perhaps this place is a Mokum Tuma. It's a Gentile noble woman. It's a Mokum Znus. It's a base Znus, so it's not proper for the tefillin to go into that house, so therefore he removed it. And when I closed the door, why? What did you suspect me of? So again, we have to say that this is prior to the Gzera of Yichud. So there was no Gzera of Yichud at that time. So what did you suspect me of? Maybe there's something of sensitive matter, of Malchus, something that has to be kept secret, and that's why you didn't want anybody to hear and listen, and then you close the door, and you lock the door. When I went down to be toivel, what did you suspect me of? We thought maybe there was some saliva that spit onto the clothes of Rebbe, and she has a din of the reik of a goy has a din of a zav or a zava, and it will be matama. So midrabanan al kol panim, it will be matama. And therefore, before I taught Torah, I wanted to be toivel. That you wanted to be toivel. That's exactly what happened. Rashash points out that there's no halacha that someone who became Tomei from a Zav, from a reik of a Zav, there's no halacha that one cannot teach Torah, and that's not included in the Takana, the Gzera of Ezra, but it was a midas chasidus, that if you became Tomei through the reik of a Nachri, that he didn't want to teach Torah. So he said that's exactly what happened. Just like you were done me favorably, the Rebbeinu Shalom should judge you favorably. Coming back to the Mishnah says we are allowed to clear out things which are not muksa. Things which are muksa we can't, but things which are not muksa we are allowed to clear out and make a room and make a clear area and remove them. What is an example of something which can be moved? It's Trumatayr. Frank the Gemara Pshita. Well, of course, what does Mishnah have to tell us? Trumatayr. It's, of course, that's something which is not muksa can be eaten by a kayan. Gemara answers, Yisrael. We're talking where it's in the possession of the Yisrael. Now, the Yisrael cannot eat the truma. So you might have thought it's muksa. Also, you might think since the Yisrael himself, he cannot eat it, you might think therefore should be also came in the even though it's not fit for him, but it's roy for a kayan, it's not muksa. even though he himself cannot eat it right now. He himself cannot eat it, period, but it is usable for a kohen, and therefore it's not muksa. Maybe a kohen will come to his house, maybe he'll be able to feed it to a kohen, so therefore it's not muksa. Udemai, and demai is also not muksa. Now demai cannot be eaten by a Yisrael, it cannot be eaten by a kohen. The Rabbanan or geyser that one who purchases produce from an Amaretz cannot eat it until you mafresh the maasros before. So this is not considered, however, muksa. Our question is why? He cannot eat it. Halei chazilei. The more answer is no, but came the boy mafkel and nitzei v'havianing. Theoretically, he could. Theoretically, he could be mafkir's nechasim, and that will render him an ani. V'chazilei. Now the gzera of demai, the kind of rabban of demai, aniyim were not included in that. So a person who is classified as an ani, he could eat the demai. So this person, even though he presently is not an ani, but theoretically he could become an ani, and there will be roy for him. Hashtanami chazilei. This lan machilin es anim demai. You can feed the poor people demai ves achsanya demai, and the achsanya, the travelers, soldiers that travel from place to place, they can also feed them demai. V'amar Rav Huna tana beit Shammai amim ein machilin es anim demai ves achsanya demai, or Beis Hillel omer machilin es anim demai ves achsanya demai. But Beis Hillel says you can't. So therefore, this is theoretically, it is suitable for him. So therefore, you can be machil him. There are several issues here with the Rishonim discuss. In this case over here, there are several issues that we discuss. Is that can you be mafkir on Shabbos? It would be mashma from this Gemara. And the Meiri says that's much from this that you can be mafkir on Shabbos. We're saying, why is demai roy for him? Because theoretically he could eat it. If he's mafkir, is nechasim, he's an ani, and according to Beis Hillel, there's no isser to give demai to an ani, so therefore it's suitable for him, it's fit for him, therefore it's not muksa. So that would imply that you can be mafkir nechasim on Shabbos, even though you cannot buy and sell on Shabbos, you can't do business on Shabbos, you cannot transfer ownership. And this is, in a way, it is transferring ownership. It's transferring ownership from himself, and he no longer is the owner. It's now hefker for everybody. Nevertheless, Meiri says it's not included in the Isser D'Rabbanan of Mekach Memkar. The Ritva says it is. And he says that it is considered in the Isser of Bekach Memkar. The question is, how will he deal with this Gemara? He says it on the case where we say when there's a fire, and we learned in the Mishnah says, boy, a person can say to Acher, boy, v'atzilu imi. It becomes over there, it's also mashma that it's hefker. He says over there that it's not hefker mamish, it's a mamela dike hefker. But over here, there will be difficulty in explaining the Gemara according to the Ritva. But this is a diyun, can you be mafkir on Shabbos? Now, there's another question over here. Why did the Gemara Bechal have to say, Kim di boy mafkir l'nichse, v'chazi, he can be mafkir l'chosim, and it's roy for him, therefore theoretically he himself can eat it. In the case of Truma, the Yisrael, if it's Truma b'yad Yisrael, the Yisrael cannot eat the Truma, will never be able to eat the Truma. Nevertheless, it's not muksa because a kohen can eat the Truma. So why over here do we have to come on to the fact that theoretically it is mutter for him, even if it's not mutter for him, it's mutter for an ani. If an ani comes by, he'll be able to eat it. So why do we have to come on to this scenario that the boy theoretically will be mutter for him because he can be mafkir as nechasim? So some Rishonim learned that in Echanami the Gemara doesn't have to come onto this teretz. It could rely on the teretz that we mentioned before, but it's saying the Rav Chadam Milsa that there's also this possibility. The Ramban says that we have to come onto over here because it's not likely that he will be able to use it for an ani, because in the normal situation is a person has the mai, he's going to be mafresh the maasros because he's going to want to eat it himself. So therefore, the likelihood that this will be given, this demai will be given to an ani, is very unlikely. It's very rare that that will be the case, because a person has demai, he's going to want to partake it from himself, so he will be mafresh the meiser. So therefore, it's not a likely scenario. Therefore, we come out to another teretz that theoretically he himself could use it. By the case of the truma b'yad kayin, that is what it is. The status of it is truma, and therefore, the likely outcome of this is that it will be given to a kayin. That is the likely outcome, and therefore we say it's not considered muksa because it has that use, and that is the likely use of this truma. Meiserishan shenitla truma, also in meiserishan where the truma has been removed, it is also mutter. It's not muksa. You can move it. Well, if you have meiserishan and the trumas meiser has been removed from it, so then it's chulin. Then it's regular chulin. That is regular produce. That means that you've done the hafroshes. The truma has been removed from it. The meiser, the trumas meiser from it is. So what is missing? Of course, that's mutter. If that's not mutter, what is? More answer lo yitzricha shekdimu b'shiboila. This is talking about a case over here where the Levi asked for his meiser and was given his meiser before truma was given. So before you mafresh the truma, and normally what happens is that you have the produce, the 2% is given, the midas beinin is 2% is given to the kohen. From that, now once the truma has been deducted, so from that there's 98% of the produce left. From that you take 10% and give it to the Levi. That's only 9.8%, so the Levi doesn't get 10%. He doesn't get precisely 10%. He gets 10% of what's left after the balabayas was mafresh the truma. Now here the Levi thought to be a smart fellow, and he went ahead to the balabayas and he asked for the meiser ahead of the truma. So he got the full 10%. There was no deduction for truma. So he has the meiser, and there's no truma been deducted. V'nitla mena trumas meiser. And then the Levi took the 10% of that and gave it trumas meiser to the kohen. V'loy nitla mena tru gedayla. But truma gedayla was not taken from this. Meiserishan, where in the shibolim stage, what's in the stalks, what hasn't been processed yet, it's just in the stalks, and the meiserishan was taken before truma gedola was taken, potter mit truma gedola. There's no longer a chiyuv to take from that produce the truma gedola. It's potter from truma gedola. Shenemar, the pasuk says, "V'arei meiser mimena trumas Hashem, meiser mina meiser." The pasuk says that you should take the trumas meiser, the meiser min ha meiser. You take truma meiser mina meiser mina meiser martuch. You take trumas meiser from the meiser rishon. You take a tenth of the meiser rishon. You take meiser mina meiser. So it's meiser mina meiser matcha v'loy truma gedola, trumas meiser mina meiser. But you don't take both truma gedola and trumas meiser from meiser. You take trumas meiser from the meiser, but not truma gedola and trumas meiser. So therefore, if he has the meiser rishon at that stage, there's no chiyuv anymore to be mafresh the truma gedola. It's only meiser, trumas meiser, that he has to be mafresh at that stage, but not truma gedola. If that's the case, I feel like well, why do you say specifically if it's in the shibolim stage? Well, let's say the same scenario. Why don't we say the same scenario if the balabayas harvested the grain and he processed the grain and now it's all been processed in the cream, and now if the Levi jumped the gun and he went ahead and he asked for and received the meiser rishon, say the same thing. that at that stage you're potter from Truma Gedola, and it's only Trumas Meiser, not Truma Gedola. Why don't you say the same thing even in the stage where it's in the Kri, it's in the pile, it's been processed in the finished pile? Amar Lei said, no, Alech Amar Kro, Mikol Matnei Seichem Tarimu. But the Pasuk also says, Mikol Matnei Seichem Tarimu. It's a rivoy. Mikol Matnei Seichem, from all your matanas that you have to separate and give truma. So therefore we have a rivoy. So we say the case of, we have a miut of Meiser Min Meiser, that's in the Shibolim stage, but we have a rivoy of Mikol, from all, Mikol Matnei Seichem Tarimu, to be marba that in the Kri stage, in the pile, when it's piled up in the Kri stage, at that stage, even if the Meiser was taken first, still you have to, after that, be mafresh the Truma Gedola. Umar writes, why do you say it in that way? Why not say it the other way? Ayidgin, v'hayla idgin. In the case of the case of the Kri, it was already doga. It was already became doga. Now the chiyuv of being mafresh and giving the truma is chal right now. In the shibolim stage, it's not yet chal, but here in this stage, it's chal already, the chiyuv of truma. So therefore, once it's chal, it doesn't go off. In the shibolim stage, you don't have to be mafresh it yet. So therefore, it's not, the chiyuv isn't chal on it, and therefore it doesn't come upon it in the later stage when it was idgin, because it already was now taken, the Meiser Rishon was already taken first from it, and so the Chiyuv of Truma will not be Chal on it. But once the Chiyuv of Truma has already been Chal on it, it's already in the Kri, it's Idgin, it's already Chal, the Chiyuv of Truma, it doesn't go off just because the Levi was Mafish, took rather the Meiser Rishon. Meiser Sheni, and also Meiser Sheni, that you're poided, you redeemed it. Well, frankly, more pshita, if the Meiser Sheni, if you've redeemed it, if you redeemed the Meiser Sheni, well then it's regular chulin. Once you've redeemed it, before you redeem it, you have to take it to Yerushalayim, it has Kedushan. But after you redeem it, it's regular chulin. More says, we're talking where he redeemed it, but not completely. He redeemed it. When you redeem the Meiser Sheni, you have to redeem it for the principal value plus a fifth. Now here we're talking in this case where even if he didn't add on the fifth yet, he was only mafresh at so far, he only redeemed it with the principal amount, the keren, the principal amount, and he was not yet Moisiv the Chaimish. Nevertheless, it's still mutter. Outside of Yerushalayim, the pidyon has already been affected. He has to be mafresh the chaimish, but it's not ma'akev the pidyon. The transfer has taken place, and right now this is considered a chulin, so it's not muksa. And the lupines, the dry tumas, that it's also mutter because you can feed it to goats. More says davki yavish. It's only if it's dry. But not if it's moist. My timer came the more loyachla. In that stage, it's very bitter, and the goats don't eat it. So then it would be muksa. But if it's yavesh, then it can be fed to the goats, and therefore it's mutter.